this house. It's super, super cool. This is actually 3 20-foot shipping containers all attached together, isn't it?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
How did this all actually come about?
We didn't need a big home, and I guess the shipping containers are already available to us, so we had use of them. So we kind of built to our needs.
And also we wanted to keep a low debt level so we can continue the lifestyle that we like, which is lots of holidays and going overseas, with Rich being English and having family over there. So it's another reason why we thought that a smaller dwelling would fit our lifestyle. We came to be living in this home about 2 years ago after travelling to Europe for your cousin's wedding. We really reevaluated what was needed in a home and also what the essential tick boxes in life were. So when we decided to go down the home building journey, we decided to go down the untraditional route.
Hi, I'm Bruce Campbell, and this is my home. When I was young, I didn't want a mortgage. I could have purchased a home and shouldered a mortgage like most people do, but I was happy enough living in a very humble and very inexpensive mobile home and saved money and invested. And my intention was to wait until I could buy a home with cash. Then I would never be tied down to the shackles of debt. By that time, I had stopped thinking in provincial terms. Aerospace technology seemed like a wonderful option.
I mean, it's very nice to have all the water around and everything, but it's very hard to get the plants to start growing, you know.
And is that what holds everything together?
Yeah, that's in bags, in like old fruit and vegetable sacks.
Yeah.
And then I lay that with plywood that I find from all over the place.
How are you going to power it to move it around?
It's going to be powered with sails and flippers that work on the tail underneath the water. So every time the wave passes, it pushes it forward like this. It's going to be like a double flipper underneath.
So
it's a wave-powered flipper.
Okay, so you would be able to steer it?
Yeah, and there'll be rudders. Well, you can steer it with the sails.
Yeah.
But to get it out of the lagoon, it'll have to be pulled with.
G'day, Tom.
Hello, Bryce. How are you?
Good, mate. How are you doing?
Very well. Thank you for coming down.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Welcome to my house.
This is a beautiful looking house.
Thank you.
Now, this one's actually been designed to be a fire-resistant tiny house.
This is a fire-resistant, passive off-grid tiny house.
First of all, what was it that actually inspired you to design this to be fire-resistant?
We are standing on the side of the world's worst bushfire. Behind us, there are burnt trees. In the background, burnt trees, houses, sheds that disappeared. And I saw Victorians building tiny houses which had no resistance, and I thought that could be improved upon. So I came up with a design, and here we are.
What goes into making a tiny house fire resistant?
Well, about 20 different things, a lot. From the materials, the design, the shape, the placement of where we are, the undercarriage, the mechanical components.
that are not normally accepted by counties and permitting and all that kind of stuff. My wife and I, our idea when we came out of here is like, man, if we could just build a tiny little house around our king-size bed, we're gonna be happy. We'll be on our land, we'll have our own little house, we'll have no rent. We were really happy living in the hut. It was an amazing time. No mortgage, no bills, no kids at the time. You wanna come in the house? Hey guys. This is the living room. We got a little tiny wood-burning stove in there, but to tell you the truth, we use it maybe 5 times a year. It's really kind of unnecessary.
Hey Jacob.
What's up, Bryce?
Good
How
to
you
meet
doing?
you, man.
Good to meet you too.
This cabin, it's hard to call it a cabin really, isn't it? I want to actually just call it art.
It's kind of like a sculpture that you live in, I guess.
Yeah.
There, and all the materials are salvaged, so that's where the kitchen sink came from, and that.
Phoenix, we don't have the buildings that were once warehouses or manufacturing facilities that everyone's now turning into lofts. We don't have the manufacturing facility where boats had been made here for 100 years and now they're cool lofts. So this shipping container allows us to bring a little bit of that richness that's really missing here in Phoenix. So this tells a little bit of the story of where these things have been. They've been all over the world traveling and now they're here stuck in Phoenix. And for someone to live in that is really kind of a good story.
So this doesn't feel like a container inside. I mean, you don't see anything, right? Am I missing something?
Well, we use the floors. We cover them we totally encapsulated the floor in a through body epoxy. And then every unit is 2 containers. So here we're able to keep the exterior skin. We're able to open one of the doors, use the existing opening and structure to glaze. So I think you really get a sense that you're in the container when you're looking out the main window.
The river is something that is really critical to people. It's not incidental that our cities happen to be near rivers. It's not an accident of geography. Our cities are there for the very reason that rivers give us transportation and agriculture and so on.
It is so incredible for me to be here now seeing your brand new tiny house, because you really are the man who started this modern tiny house movement, aren't you? Kind of the godfather of tiny homes.
I like to think so. Yeah.
And what I love about your new project is with this house, you're really rethinking things and taking it right back to basics, aren't you?
Yeah, just continuing with the efficiency thing, even beyond size, just reducing the space is good, that's number one, but also the amount of material and all the life energy that goes into a house. And
these tiny houses are really the wave of the future. That's how we're going to answer our question of low-income housing.
200 square feet and built for just $12,000 each. These tiny houses would rent for as little as $250 a month. Michael Withy, a remodeler pushing for so-called micro-communities, took the idea to Portland City Council.
We're trying to fill gaps.
Withy told me the micro-communities would be for the working poor, people who make less than $21,000 a year, minimum wage workers who may even be homeless because they can't afford market rents.
I work 40 hours, and with all my things, I can't afford housing. Being a working poor class citizen is the worst.
I thought I was gonna die outside, so this saved our lives. And I think that's what a lot of people need to realize when they complain about having a unit with no electricity or plumbing, that we didn't have that stuff outside anyway.
Only 1 in every 4 people that qualify for housing assistance actually receive it. So, inherently we have homelessness built into the system where we're only helping 25% of the people that qualify for it. Until we do something about that, places like this are going to remain necessary.
When I was in my teens, I really liked being outside a lot, and I spent a lot of time in my summers sleeping in a tent in the backyard, and I really liked just being as close to the outdoors as I could. So in my late teens, I decided to build a tiny house. It was kind of before a lot of people had heard of tiny houses. I didn't call it a tiny house, I just called it a little cabin. It was years after that that I started hearing people say even the word like the tiny house movement or anything like that. My name's Jesse, and I live in a tiny house in Maine.
This has been an incredible year for us as we've travelled seeking out some of the very best examples of small space design. Whether on the ground, on wheels, on the water, or in the trees, it never ceases to amaze me just how creative people can get with their homes. Today we look back over the last year and check out our top 5 tours of 2018. Kicking off the list at number 5, we have Kester and Nadia's dream home on wheels in Byron Bay, New South Wales. Aptly named the Zen Tiny Home, its design has been influenced by a mixture of Japanese and Scandinavian design, which is evident from the simple yet striking exterior to its elegant and flowing interior spaces. At number 4, we have Will and Jen's tiny house-inspired home, which has been constructed in a modern subdivision in Wanaka, New Zealand. This home shows what's possible when tiny house design principles are incorporated into a more conventional home. The result is an architecturally stunning house, which is modern, efficient, and packed full of clever small space design ideas, including some quirky features such as the inflatable bathtub. Number 3 brings us to Sacramento, California, and the home of solo mum Shalina and her teenage daughter Katie. This tiny house on wheels was built as a DIY project by Shalina and is one of the cleverest designs we've seen so far. There is an unbelievable amount of storage built into this home, and space has been efficiently used throughout. For our number 2 tour, we travel to the Ocala region of Florida and the spectacular tiny home of Rebecca and Bob. This home is packed full of features that I never thought I would see in a tiny house on wheels, including the unbelievable feature pizza oven which sits in the center of this home. Largely built from reclaimed materials and designed and constructed by the formidable husband and wife team, this home is spacious and adorned with artistic features everywhere you look. And now, our number 1 tiny house of 2018 takes us to Sebastopol, California, and the new tiny home of tiny house pioneer Jay Schaefer. This ultra-simple design really takes us back to the very basics of the tiny house movement, which is all about creating beautiful, simple, and affordable shelter.
The tiny homes began arriving this morning. It would take about a month for the construction work to be completed on them. By midday, the truck was still unloading the 6 96-square-foot homes and placing them on their foundations. Each home will cost about $3,000.
I would love to be one of the ones like. I think it would be amazing to live in this right here.
Brandon May has been homeless and unemployed for about 5 months. Later this week, he will get a new job at a factory. He says these humble quarters can help him get back on his feet.
I'm Janine. I'm a lecturer at San Jose State University. I'm an ethnoecologist. This is Lusa. She's a Minpin. We live in the Champion. Well, I was living in Northern California. I was renting these beautiful places out in the mountains at reasonable rates. I thought, I need to switch this. And the best way to recycle was to get a bus. This is a Champion Challenger with an E450 engine. It's a Ford engine with a shuttle bus.
Hi, I'm Jenna from Tiny House Giant Journey. So a little over 4 years ago, I was working at a job that I wasn't passionate about. I had gone to school for filmmaking and I was working at a movie studio in Hollywood, but I felt stuck, as I think a lot of people feel stuck in a job after they've gone to college for it and gone into a lot of debt. My partner and I at the time, we decided to live a more minimalistic lifestyle, something that would free up our finances, and with the savings that we had, we decided to build a tiny house and spend 1 year traveling on the road doing photojournalism and blog.
Our shop is 25 by 40, so it's the biggest shop in the area. We build tiny homes, but mostly micro campers. The tiny homes, there are so many people who do it and do it well that it's hard to stay competitive in that market, but we found a niche kind of in that micro campers. in the micro camper market. So stuff like this, 5x8, you know, you can pull these behind a smart car, our smallest model, out of their car and are homeless. They'll purchase, you know, one of these from us, and it's a step above being homeless.